Jayo Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Girivaradhari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Giridhari Shri Radhe Jayo Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Shri Radhe Jayo Jagannath Jayo Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Shubhadra Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. We'll continue reading from Srila Prabhupada Lila Amrita. This is from page 140 onwards. Chapter titled The Battle for Bombay. Prabhupada did not commit himself to the construction on the land because he had no deed and no assurance of one. He toured the West, returned to India, but still nothing had happened to resolve the matter. Life in ISKCON Bombay was peaceful, but progress remained stunted, the outcome uncertain. Then one day, without warning, Mrs. N launched a violent attack. On the morning of June 1, while the devotees were attending their routine duties, a truck drove onto the Juhu property. A demolition squad had come to dismantle the temple. Somehow, Mrs. N had convinced an official in the city government to authorize demolition of the temple. A modest structure of brick and steel reinforced concrete. When Giriraj attempted to show the officer in charge a letter establishing ISKCON's rights, the man ignored the letter and signaled the demolition to begin. Soon more trucks arrived, until nearly 100 demolitionists, working with blowtorches and sledgehammers, swarmed over the property. The demolitionists mounted ladders and began breaking the roof of the temple hall with sledgehammers. Others used torches to cut through the steel supports. The plan of the demolition squad was to knock out the steel supports of the Kirtan Hall and proceed methodically towards the deity house wherein Radha Rasavihari stood. The devotees tried to stop the demolition, but policemen soon appeared on the scene and, working in pairs, would grab the dissenters by the legs and arms and carry them away. Police dragged the women away by the hair while tenants on the land looked on. Some were glad to see the demolition, although others were sympathetic. Out of fear of the police, however, no one moved to help the devotees. One devotee, Manisvi, ran to a telephone and called Mr. Mahadevia, who, along with his friend Mr. Vinoda Gupta, rushed to Hare Krishna land to find the police dragging off the last protesting devotee by the hair. She had been trying to close the doors to the altar to protect the deities when three policemen had wrestled her away. Mr. Mahadevia rushed to the house of a sympathetic tenant, Mr. Acharya, and phoned his brother Chandra Mahadevia, a wealthy businessman and friend of Bal Thakura, the leader of one of the most influential political parties in Bombay. Mr. Chandra Mahadevia informed Bal Thakura of the emergency. At the instigation of a Hindu and under the order of a Hindu municipal officer, a Hindu temple of Lord Vishnu was being demolished. Mr. Thakur, in turn, informed the municipal commissioner, who denied knowing of any order to demolish the temple, and who in turn phoned the local ward office that had sent out the demolition squad. The ward office sent a man to stop the demolition. The officer arrived around 2 p.m., just as the demolition squad had cut through the last pillars and were dismantling the roof above the DTs. The order to stop the demolition was given to the ward officer in charge, who then stopped the demolition squad. Prabhupada was in Calcutta at the time of the attack, and when the devotees reached him by phone, he told them to organize the local ISKCON sympathizers and life members and protest the attack by mass publicity. They should also expose the persons responsible. This would be very effective against Mrs. N and her party. Prabhupada mentioned various life members he thought would help. Mr. Sada Jivatlal, the head of the Hindu Vishwa Parishad, should help with publicity since his organization was a defender of Hindu Dharma and was meant for handling such cases as this. Mr. Sethi should help in preventing further violence. This episode, Prabhupada said, had been part of Krishna's plan. The devotees should not be afraid. The next morning, a photo of the demolished temple appeared on the front page of the Free Press Journal with the headline, Unauthorized Temple Demolished by Municipal Authorities. Devotees began counteracting the bad publicity. Mr. Sada Jivatlal turned his downtown office into an ISKCON office, and he and the devotees began the campaign. Despite the unfavorable propaganda, many Indians were shocked at the violence, and the municipal corporation unanimously condemned those officials responsible for the attack on a Hindu temple. Devotees working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Sada Jivatlal's office phoned the newspapers, wrote letters and circulars, and contacted possible sympathizers. Mr. Vinoda Gupta, a member of the Jan Sangh political party, which favored maintaining India's Hindu culture, joined with Kartikeya Mahadevia and others to form a Save the Temple committee. Mr. Gupta published his own leaflet declaring ISKCON to be a bona fide Hindu organization. As Giriraj met with and elicited the support of government officials, many of Bombay's leading citizens, appreciating the authenticity of the Hare Krishna movement, began to show sympathy and offer assistance. Thus, the plan of Mrs. N and her lawyers backfired. Although they had been thinking that they were dealing with only a mere handful of young foreigners, they soon found themselves facing many of Bombay's most influential citizens. Srila Prabhupada predicted that the results would be positive. A few days after the incident, he wrote, "The demolition of our temple by the municipality has strengthened our position. The municipality standing committee has condemned the hasty action of the municipality and has agreed to reconstruct the shed at their cost. Not only that, the temporary construction shall continue to stay until the court decision is there as to who is the proprietor of the land. Under the circumstances, we should immediately reconstruct the DT shed. Barbed wire fencing should be immediately done to cover the naked land, and if possible, immediately in front of the DT shed, a temporary pandal should be constructed with our materials. If it is so done, then I can go to Bombay and begin Bhagavad Parayana to continue until the court decision is there. This is my desire." Prabhupada also asked Giriraj to give full coverage of the temple demolition in his Hare Krishna monthly journal to life members. Prabhupada himself wrote an article for the monthly describing his movement and the events leading to the attack on the temple. He condemned the Bombay municipality for having the audacity to smash our temple against the law and principle of religious faith. A clique in Bombay, he said, had conspired to drive the devotees from their land without returning their money, and he asked for sympathizers and life members of the Krishna consciousness movement to come forward and help him at this difficult hour. Only about a dozen ISKCON life members responded to Srila Prabhupada's call. There were hundreds of life members in Bombay, each whom had donated 1,111 rupees and were receiving Prabhupada's books. But when it came to a personal commitment in a time of controversy, only a few are willing to help. Those who did help, however, were able to assist in ways that the innocent, naive, and uninfluential disciples of Prabhupada could not. The devotees began to see the entire course of events as Krishna's mercy. Since many life members were now rendering valuable service to Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. In the past, Prabhupada had stayed in the homes of many life members, preaching to them and their families, convincing them of his sincerity and of the noble aims of his movement. These friends and members like Bhagubhai Patel, Biharilal Khandelwala, Brijratan Mohata, Dr. C. Bali, and others were acting not simply out of Hindu sentiment, but out of deep respect and affection for Prabhupada. Giriraj, working with Sadajivat Lal, tried to convince the municipal council to authorize the rebuilding of the temple structure. While doing so, however, he discovered that Mrs. N had, that very day, a Friday, filed for a court injunction preventing ISKCON from rebuilding. Justice Nain told Giriraj that he did not want to grant Mrs. N's request and that he would hear the devotees' case on the following Monday. This meant that the devotees had from Saturday morning to Monday morning 2 days to rebuild the temple. The devotees reasoned that although they had no actual permission to rebuild the temple, there was as yet no law to stop them. If Justice Nain ruled against them, then to rebuild would be very difficult. They decided, therefore, to use the weekend to rebuild. Mr. Lal, a former contractor, helped arrange materials, bricks, mortars, asbestos sheets. Mr. Sethi offered a crew of laborers. At 8 p.m. on Friday, the masons began their work, continuing through the night despite the rain. And on Monday morning, when the judge learnt of the new temple, he declared, "What is built is built. No one can destroy the temple." When Prabhupada heard the news, he considered it a complete victory. The temple had been rebuilt, and public opinion was swinging strongly in ISKCON's favor. This has ended chapter 41 of the Battle for Bombay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And just moving on to the verse. Srimad Bhagavatam 5:25:1. We'll just start with Om Namo Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Would someone like to read the verse, please?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishna Mataji.
Sri Shuka Uvacha Tasya Mula Deshe Trimsha Yojana Sahasrantara Aste Ya Vai Kala Bhagavatas Tamasi Samakhyata Ananta Iti Satvatiya Drashti Drishyayoho Sankarsana Aham Ityabhimana Lakshanam Yam Sankarsanam Itya Achakshate. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Someone else would like to read the verse?
Hare Krishna, I can try.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tasya Mula Deshe Trimshad Yojana Sahasrantara Aste Ya Vai Kala Bhagavatas Tamasi Samakhyātānanta Iti Satvatiya Drashtr Drishyayoho Sankarshanam Aham Ityabhimana Lakshanam Yam Sankarshanam Iti Achakshate. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I'll try.
Mataji, thank you.
तस्य मूलदेशे त्रिंशदोजनसहस्रान्तर आस्ते या वै कला भगवतस्तामसि समाख्यातानन्त इति सात्वत्या दृष्टुदृश्ययो सङ्कर्षणमहि महिमित्यभिमानलक्षणं यं संकर्षणमित्याचक्षते. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So word by word translation. Sri Sukha Uvacha, Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Tasya of the planet Patala, Mula Deshe in the region beneath the base, Trimshat, the sea, Yojana, 8 mile units of measurement, Sahasra Antare at an interval of 1,000, Aste remains, Ya, which, Vai, indeed, Kala, an expansion of an expansion, Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Tamasi, related to darkness, Samakhyata, called, Ananta, Iti, thus, Satvatiya, the devotees, Drashtir Drishyayo of matter and spirit, Sankarshanam, the drawing together, Aham, I, Iti, thus, Abhiman by self-conception, Lakshanam, symptomized, Yam, whom, Sankarshanam, Sankarshana, Iti, thus, Achakshate, learned scholars describe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Sukadev Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, My dear king, approximately 240,000 miles beneath the planet Patala lives another incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the expansion of Lord Vishnu, known as Lord Ananta or Lord Sankarshana. He is always in the transcendental position, but because he is worshipped by Lord Shiva, the deity of Tamogun or darkness, he is sometimes called Tamasi. Lord Ananta is the predominating deity of the material mode of ignorance, as well as the false ego of all conditioned souls. When a conditioned living being thinks, I am the enjoyer and this world is meant to be enjoyed by me, this conception of life is dictated to him by Sankarshan. Thus the mundane conditioned soul thinks himself the Supreme Lord. Purport. There's a class of men akin to Mayavadi philosophers who misinterpret the Aham Brahmasmi and Soham Vedic mantras to mean I am the Supreme Brahman and I am identical with the Lord. This kind of false conception in which one thinks himself as the Supreme Enjoyer is a kind of illusion. It is described elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 5:5-8, Janasya moho ayam aham mameti. As explained in the above verse, Lord Sankarshan is the predominating deity of this false conception. Krishna confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart as Sankarshan, and when a devotee thinks himself one with the Supreme Lord, the Lord keeps him in that darkness. Although such a demoniac living entity is only an insignificant part of the Supreme Lord, he forgets his true position and thinks he is the Supreme Lord. Because this forgetfulness is created by Sankarshan, he is sometimes called Tamasi. The name Tamasi does not indicate that he has a material body. He is always transcendental, but because he is the super soul of Lord Shiva who must perform tamasic activities, Sankarshan is sometimes called Tamasi. So this Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudirayet Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridyantastohiya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suratsatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki and Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So this is the beginning of chapter 25 of the fifth canto, and it's basically starting at the basement of the universe, 240,000 miles beneath the planet Patal, where Lord Ananta is sitting, and he's described as the deity of the false ego. Even in this verse, when we see the word Sankarshan, how it's come up two times, the first means drawing together, and the second is as just Sankarshan. And normally, and it's quite interesting because normally wherever we have anything related to Krishna or Krishna's devotees or any paraphernalia, it's never really considered as like tamasic. It's considered to be anyway above all the modes, very positive, very light. And the reason that in this case, in this verse, that we see is that the cosmic light switch is basically that Lord Ananta or Sankarshan, he holds this cosmic light switch of basically us playing that game of, being boss in the world. And when the light is switched off on what's our actually true identity. if we also look at this from a more science perspective as well, of like an atom, there's always a nucleus in the center. Even in a very small cell, there's always a nucleus in the center, and that's uh, governed by a strong nuclear force. And if that's not there, then everything would fly apart together. Everything would fly apart, and that's what Sankarshan is described here, even in the word to word, as the drawing together of two things that's not of two things. So the spirit as well as the dead matter of the body, the ego. Basically the glue that tells us that, yeah, we are inside this bag of chemicals and we're basically drawn together, but at the end of it, the ego is not there. Or the ego is very much of the I things, but we're quite minuscule. Um, and even the word or the name Ananta means no end. And later on in this chapter, it's actually described that um, Ananta Dev, he has thousands of hoods and mouths, and with each of these hoods and mouths, he has been trying to just describe the glories of Krishna since the beginning of time, and even till now, he is yet to reach the end. Um, and when the soul wants that independence, or the material nature, covered by material modes of nature, wants that independence, and that is facilitated by uh, Sankarshan to provide the glue of this false ego, making us think that we're the master. But if we also think about the absence of false ego, and since it was Ram Navami a few days ago, um, in Ram Leela, Sankarshan comes as Lord Lakshman. And he shows the absence of this false ego where basically anything that Lord Ram used to do, Lakshman used to follow. Um, so for example, if Lord Ram would say, find a place to build a cottage, Lakshman would say that you tell me where to choose. There's no choice of my own. You tell me where and I'll build it. So the actual true ego is having no independent desire apart from serving the Lord. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam and also elsewhere in so many different places, we hear that when Lord Ananta or Lord or Sheshnag or Lord Sankarshan, whenever he holds up the universe on top of his thousands of hoods, it's as tiny as a mustard seed. Um, so basically, it's the same way of, in I guess a more technical sense, how there could be a tiny microchip that could hold the entire library, and for us, seeing this entire universe, seeing everything that's, thinking it's infinite, it's really big. But for Lord Ananta, it's basically just very compressed data. Um, and also really makes us, I guess, put things into perspective that all of these things that we think are very big, they are actually very tiny. Because basically the entire galaxy, it's just as small as a tiny mustard seed. Um, Even a few days ago, when His Holiness Banu Maharaj, he was also mentioning about in one of his classes about time and Lord Brahma's life, and how in this lifetime or the next lifetime or any previous lifetime, if anything big happens, we really think, oh my God, this is like the end of it. But in actuality, it's actually as short as probably 5-10 seconds in the grand scheme of things. And given that we are talking about ego, one of the two examples that we could see within the Srimad Bhagavatam or within Krishna Lila, um, as to why ego is also given by Krishna. So the first one is when Krishna's eating dirt, and all of his friends say, "You're eating dirt," um, and they try to stop him, and he doesn't listen. They go to Mother Yashoda. They tell Mother Yashoda that Krishna's eating dirt, And that's when Mother Yashoda, when she enters into a parent mode, and has her maternal ego that comes up, and where Krishna says, and starts chastising Krishna, and Krishna says, no, they're lying. Just look at it for yourself that I'm not eating dirt. But when Mother Yashoda actually looks into Krishna's mouth, she doesn't see dirt, but she sees the entire universe, the stars, the oceans, the planets, the galaxies. And it's basically how we can compare this to a hologram. Where, sorry, so she basically gets stuck in this loop where she sees the entire universe, and then yep, she sees herself within that universe as well. And one of the ways that this can come through is through a holographic principle. So a hologram is basically 3D that's encased or encoded within a 2D surface, where the boundary could be a 2D surface, but anything that's projected out is a 3D image, with Krishna's mouth being the 2D surface or the 2D aperture of that, and universe being the projection, or the 3D within this 2D. One of the examples that we mainly see with this 2D, 3D was, and on a card, if you see at the back, there's usually a dove that has a 2D shape. And we don't really seem to use that anymore. Now it's mainly just Google Pay, Apple Pay. We're no longer seeing the hologram on the card that we used to. So that's basically compared to Maya, as to how fast and quick it is that even ignorance is digitized. And um, when Mother Yashoda, as I mentioned just a few seconds ago, when Mother Yashoda sees the universe and she sees the earth, then Vrindavan, then sees herself looking in that mouth, a recursive loop is created, and that's basically the same pattern inside a smaller pattern. And that's sort of when the system goes, oh, hold on, I'm scolding this person, but I am part of the universe, and if the entire universe is inside this toddler's mouth, um, then why am I, still scolding? There's no question of maternal ego or anything. But then the second example where we see this is Lord Brahma, how he's considered to be the engineer, to be the creator of the universe. Um, and he was thinking with killing after killing the snake demon, how all of the friends were enjoying and having lunch in this. And Lord Brahma was basically bewildered that how is it possible that this child is a supreme personality of Godhead when he's, um, being used to served with so much awe, so much reverence. And all of a sudden, he's just, taking something out of his friend's plate, eating that. Friends are doing the same thing out of his plate. And that's when he decides to, I guess, test him by stealing the calves and all of his friends. And what Christian does is just Control C, Control V, becomes every boy and every calf, goes into their house for like a year. And what we think is a year is actually a very fraction of second in Lord Brahma's time. And that's when Lord Brahma's ego is also done that, okay, I may be the engineer, but there is something that's sorry, I'm just going to turn the blinds out. And where, Lord Brahma may be the engineer, but uh, there is something a lot greater, and this is Krishna. And if he can, Control C, Control V would do this. But um, if egos are so wrong, then why do we have it? And why is it considered, part of this verse as well, where we think of ourselves to be the doer of things, the doer of everything, the controller of everything. Um, In both of these events, with Mother Yashoda and also Lord Brahma, Krishna covers them up with the forgetfulness, and um, ego is basically to be used like a tool, not a truth, um, because the smaller self needs to participate in the bigger play of life, but we also need to understand that there is something bigger that's part of Krishna, without becoming arrogant or cruel or thinking we're the doer or the controller of everything. even within this verse, Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita 15:15, that from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Because if we want to, play out this role of material enjoyer, then we need to forget the true position of being Krishna's servants, or to act out the soul's desire of being independent. But if Lord Sankarshan, who is the presiding deity of, he's a predominating, so Lord Ananta is a predominating deity of the material mode of ignorance, as well as the false ego of all conditioned souls. So if he is a predominating deity, and he is the one who comes in as Krishna's paraphernalia, as Lord Lakshman, as Lord Balaram, to be able to serve Krishna, then even then our egos are very minuscule and they should just be used in the service of Krishna. These is the only sort of points that I had for this. So, Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavata Pranam. Thank you very much
Hare Krishna.
for explaining the verse very
Thank you.
nicely, and particularly the role of Shankarshan as a predominating deity for the mode of ignorance for us as well, because an individual soul, when he is in a mode of ignorance, he understands that he wants to be an enjoyer, and that thinking comes from Shankarshan, because as we know, the Lord is the source of everything. So even everything, even whatever comes in this material world is a part of Lord's energy. So, and everything, since everything comes from Lord, the origin cannot be other than the Lord. So in this way, in this mode
Yes.
of ignorance, when people try to enjoy themselves and think themselves as the enjoyer, leaving aside the Lord, of course, it is not possible, and the Lord arranges for that. But this is one of the energies of the Lord. We have to understand that. And nothing is independent by himself, and only the Lord is independent, and He is the source of everything, and from whom everything comes. If we understand that, that will be our real knowledge. With that, that is what I have understood from this verse. Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you very much again for the beautiful class. It's always a pleasure to hear from you.
Thank you.
And yeah, my humble realization was like, no matter how we are so blessed to know about the Supreme Personality of Lord, and no matter how we try to perform our daily activities as the doers and those who make the decisions, but at the end of the day, sometimes, not always, but sometimes when we surrender and we see the beauty of the God's plan and how God arranged everything for us in the best way, no matter how we've been complaining or mourning or, grieving for something that we lost, so-called, yeah, but same like with through the old Srimad Bhagavatam, we see lots of supreme personalities trying to challenge Lord, like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other supreme personalities. And I like the example of what happens then, that after all these challenges, when they fail to compete with the Lord, they give the prayers and how they appreciate and how they, what's the proper English word? So how they talk about the beauty and almightiness and the glories of the Lord after they, same like with Lord Brahma, when he had this last time with stealing the boys and the cows, right? So when after that he comes with Govinda Adipurusha, which we chant every morning in the temple prayer. So yeah, I was hoping like we can have this wisdom, take this wisdom as a sample, like every time when we fail with our will and we surrender to God's will, and then we can appreciate what God has for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Dr. Krishna Mataji, it appears there's no other person to make comments. So thank you very much for your nice class. And the class may be concluded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vancha kalpatarubhyaśo kripa
कृपा
sindhubhyo
सिन्धुभ्य
एव
एव
च
च पतितानां
पावन पावनेभ्यो
Vaishnavibhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
अनंत
अनंत
कोटि
कोटि
वैष्णव
वैष्णव
वृंद की
वृंद की
जय।
जय।
हर
Yes.
कृष्ण कांता
Srila
माता जी
Prabhupada
की
ki
जय।
jai.
श्रील प्रभुपाद की
Ki
जय।
jai.
और प्रेमानंदी
Prayor
हरे
Premanande Hari
Hari
Hari.
Hari Bol.
All glories to assembled devotees. Hare
हरे